Good day everyone, and welcome to Learn English with Blaine. And this video is called Adjective Clauses Part 3, and we are going to focus on defining adjective clauses. So again, this is Adjective Clauses Part 3 with a focus on defining adjective clauses. So let's take a look first at our agenda. So first, we are going to review non-defining adjective clauses, also called modifying adjective clauses, and then we are going to study defining adjective clauses, also called identifying adjective clauses. Now, we use adjectives to give information about a noun. And here are a couple of examples. Here is an example without an adjective. Here is an example with an adjective. I met my wife 10 years ago. We can say that, but if you want to give more information about your wife, you can say, I met my beautiful wife 10 years ago. So we can use words such as beautiful, which are adjectives, to give more information about a noun. Now, let's talk about, let's take a quick review of non-defining adjective clauses. So remember that we can use an adjective, which is one word, to give information about a noun, or we can use a type of adjective clause called a defining adjective clause, which is a group of words to give information about a noun. So again, we can also use something called adjective clauses to give more information about a noun. They are also called modifying adjective clauses. And here are 3 examples. So we can say this desk needs to be replaced, or we can say this desk, which I bought last year, needs to be replaced. So this clause is giving information about the desk. My neighbor is very polite. We can say that, or if we want to give more information, we can say my neighbor who was born in Chile is very polite. So this clause right here gives us information about the noun. We can say my car needs new tires, or we can say my car whose windows are scratched needs new tires. So in each situation, we have a noun followed by a clause that begins with a relative pronoun, either which, for example, which, who, and whose. These are 3 examples. And the clause is surrounded by commas, as we can see here. Now, we use non-defining clauses when giving non-essential information about a noun. When we say non-essential, we mean that if we take out the clause, the sentence, as we can see here, still makes sense. So here's a quick summary. This is a summary for non-defining adjective clauses, also called modifying relative clauses. Point number 1, we use who for people, which for things, and whose for people and things to show possession. So let's take a quick look here. So we are using which for a thing, who for a person, and whose to show possession. Now in this example, we're using whose to show possession for a thing, which is a car, but we can also use whose for people as well. Now, the clause always comes after the noun that it modifies. For example, my car, whose tires are brand new, is very expensive. So this clause is going to come after the noun that it modifies. Always comes after the noun, and the clause is always going to be surrounded by commas, as we can see here. And again, point number 6, again, just like up here, non-defining adjective clauses are also called modifying relative clauses. Both names, again, would be correct. And again, remember that the clause begins with a pronoun. It begins with a relative pronoun, such as who, which, or whose. So the clause begins with a relative pronoun. For example, who, which, or whose. There are other relative pronouns, but we'll be talking about those in a future video. Now, so let's discuss defining adjective clauses. These are also called identifying adjective clauses. Okay, so now we're going to focus on defining adjective clauses. Let us remember one important point about non-defining adjective clauses. We can remove them and the sentence will still make sense. So we're going to take a moment to take a look at this about non-defining. So over here, we were looking at non-defining clauses, adjective clauses, right? So we can take out each clause as we did here, and the sentence will still be good. That is for what we call non-defining adjective clauses. Now we're just going to go back up here. So remember that we can remove the clause and the sentence will still make sense. Now, here are a couple scenarios to help us learn something about non-defining and defining adjective clauses. Imagine that you are speaking with your friend about your brother. You have one brother. She knows your brother well, and you say, "My brother, who lives in Vancouver, is coming next week." My brother, who lives in Vancouver, is coming next week. Now remember, you have only one brother, and you're speaking with your friend about him. She knows your brother well, and you say, "My brother, who lives in Vancouver, is coming next week," right? So remember, so we're going to say, "My brother who lives in Vancouver is coming next week." We don't need the clause, this clause, to identify who you are talking about. The clause gives us information, extra information about someone or something. So we can say, "My brother who lives in Vancouver is coming next week," or we can say, "My brother is coming next week." We don't need to say who lives in Vancouver because it is giving extra non-essential information. So you can say, "My brother who lives in Vancouver is coming next week," or you can simply say, "My brother is coming next week." Both would be correct and no problem. So because it's giving extra non-essential information, we can also call it a modifying adjective clause. Scenario number 2. You are speaking with your friend about one of your brothers, but you have 3. Okay, so you're speaking with your friend about one of your brothers, but you have 3 brothers. Now, you can say, "My brother is coming next week." My brother is coming next week. But if you say this, if you say, "My brother is coming next week," your friend may say, "Which of your brothers is coming?" You have 3. So, in other words, saying "my brother is coming next week" is not good enough. Your friend might say, "Which of your brothers is coming?" You have 3. you can respond by saying, my brother that lives in Vancouver is coming next week. So this is another type of clause called a defining adjective clause. Notice we are introducing a new relative pronoun, that, and there are no commas. We need the clause to identify which brother you are talking about. So if you simply say, my brother is coming next week, no. You have three brothers. You need to say, my brother that lives in Vancouver is coming next week. This is why, now because it's identifying your brother, it's telling which brother is coming. It is saying which brother is coming. So we can also call it an identifying adjective clause because this clause tells which brother you are talking about. Now, we can use for these types of clauses, for these types of adjective clauses, we can use which, that, or who. And again, these are for defining adjective clauses. So let's take a look at some examples. So here we have some scenarios where we can use non-defining adjective clauses if we want to. And here we are going to look at some scenarios where we have to use defining adjective clauses. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that non-defining and defining clauses always begin with a relative pronoun. So which, who, which, that, which, and who. These are all what we call relative pronouns, and they are going to begin each of the clauses. So let's take a look at some examples. These are the scenarios. You have one English book. You have one English book. So you can say, my English book, which has a hardcover, was very expensive. My English book, which has a hardcover, was very expensive. That's non-defining. Here's another scenario. You have many English books and only one has a hardcover. So here you can say, my English book which has a, sorry, I'm going to repeat that. My English book which has a hardcover was very expensive. My English book which has a hardcover was very expensive. So number one, take note. We can use which for, when it comes to defining, we can use which for things. We can use which for things over here, but the difference here, commas. That means that after you say the noun and after you finish the clause, there's going to be a short pause. Over here, no pause. So let's say this again. My English book, which has a hardcover, was very expensive. My English book, which has a hardcover, was very expensive. My English book, which has a hardcover, was very expensive. My English book, which has a hardcover, was very expensive. Scenario number two. You have only one car. My car, which I bought last summer, has some rust on it. In this scenario, you have three cars. My car that I bought last summer has some rust on it. My car that I bought last summer has some rust on it. Again, you have three cars, so you cannot just say, my car has some rust on it. You need to say, my car that I bought last summer. My car that I bought last summer has some rust on it. And remember, no commas. Now, in this situation, you have one dog. My dog, which I bought from the man down the street, is black. My dog, which I bought from the man down the street, is black. In this case, you have two dogs. And you're using this clause to identify which dog is black. My dog, which I bought from the man down the street, is black. Again, if you just say my dog is black, they'll say, oh, you have two dogs. Which dog is black? Oh, sorry. My dog, which I bought from the man down the street, is black. Now, in this case, you have one friend from high school. One friend. So you can say, my friend from high school who spoke to you at the party got married last week. My friend from high school who spoke to you at the party got married last week. Now, you could say, my friend from high school got married last week. That would be fine. You only have one friend from high school. But what if you have many friends from high school? If you say, my friend from high school got married last week, they'll say, oh, which friend from high school? And then you can say, my friend from high school who spoke to you at the party got married last week. My friend from high school who spoke to you at the party got married last week. So just as a recap here, these are non-defining, meaning that you can take out each of the clauses and the sentence would still be good. Over here, you need these clauses in there to identify which noun you are talking about. Now, as a recap, let's take a quick recap of non-defining adjective clauses and defining adjective clauses. On this side, for non-defining, we use who for people. For defining, we can use who or that for people. For non-defining, we use which for animals and things. For defining, we can use which or that for animals and things. Point number 3, we use whose for people and things to show possession. Point number 3, for defining, we use whose for people and things to show possession. So same point here. Point number 4 is also the same. The clause comes after the noun. My car, whose tires are brand new, is very expensive. My car, whose tires are brand new, is very expensive. So again, here the clause comes after the noun. The clause comes after the noun. The clause for non-defining, the clause is surrounded by commas. For defining, the clause has no commas. Non-defining adjective clauses are also called modifying relative clauses, and defining adjective clauses are also called identifying relative clauses. So here we have different names that we can use for non-defining adjective clauses and different names for defining adjective clauses. Note, words such as who, which, and that are called relative pronouns. This is why these clauses may also be called relative clauses. Remember, though, that the most common name is adjective clauses. I actually prefer this one because these clauses are acting like adjectives. There are other pronouns that can be used for these clauses, and we will cover those in a future video. I will be producing more videos on this topic soon. Please see the links in the description box of this video for more videos and for a link to my website as well on this topic. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm really glad that you were here today to watch this video. Leave your comments or questions in the comment section below. I really would appreciate those. And if you like the video, please remember to share, like, and subscribe. Thank you so much, everyone, and I will see you in the next video. Remember, one more point I want to stress. If you have questions or comments, please leave those because I think this is kind of a difficult grammar point, and I want to make sure that you all understand it very well. Thank you, everyone, and I will see you soon in the next video.